All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Jody's Basement. My name is Jordan, and as always, we are joined by our good friend Rob in Iowa. Good day, Rob. We are ready to bring to you what was a very fun project we did this week, another ranking the albums video. This week, we will talk about the great progressive rock band Spock's Beard, a band that's been through a lot of change, but still exists, still puts out great material. They've got a nice 13 album discography we're going to talk about and rank them. But if you haven't seen the previous videos that we've done a bunch over the last 5 weeks or so. Check them out in the playlist called Ranking the Albums here at the station. You can look at them all, including the Van Halen, Iron Maiden. We've done Styx last week, was a lot of fun. This week is no different. A lot of fun doing Spock's Beard. So we have 13, like I said, 13 albums to rank. And without further ado, as they say, we will throw it over halfway across the country to Rob to start us off from least played to most played, the great prog band Spock's Beard. You're on, Rob. Start us off.
Absolutely must say least played, because there's not a bad album in the collection. But least played for me would be the Brief Nocturnes and Dreamless Sleep. Say that 87 times real fast. It's prog, so you got to say it more than 5 times. Really good. Some great stuff here. Afterthoughts is awesome. Something Very Strange. There's some really cool tunes on the bonus disc, because of course I got to have the bonus disc. Hiding Out is fantastic. Just a phenomenal album. First album with Ted Leonard on vocals from Enchant, another band I love. Really cool stuff, though.
Yes, you must have really loved then because you were a fan of Enchant before.
Yeah.
You must have loved when Ted came over. I knew of Enchant. I had 1 or 2 albums, but I wasn't a huge fan of his before he joined Spock's. So I was a little bummed out at the time, obviously, and I warmed up to it. But yeah, that was it's interesting. That was a little higher for me, but it was my album of the year when it came out in 2013. So good choice for number 13. But you're right, not a bad album in the bunch. I mean, show me another band that's been around since the 90s, has had 3 major lineup changes, not just drummer going out. We're talking major lineup changes, 3 frontmen, lead singers, and still puts out great albums over and over again. Not a bad album in the bunch. You probably can't name another one that's gone through that much change. So Spock's Beard is very special in that respect, and the core remains, and that's why they're still so good. But this is number 13 for me, The Oblivion Particle, which the last album they made with Jimmy Keegan on drums, their second drummer, second album with Ted Leonard. The reason why this album falls here, I think it just doesn't feel like so much of a Spock's album to me. John Bogehold, no disrespect to John, he's kind of like a de facto writer for several prog bands. He's not in any, really. Not much of a musician so much. He's more of a writer. And he wrote 5 of the 9 songs on here. Ted wrote 2 of them. Stan Osmus wrote 1. Al and Rio wrote 1 song on this album. And Al and Dave's not even here. I mean, he plays on it, but I mean, Dave's a great writer. He's proven it before. So I kind of wish there was more of a band effort in the writing on this. Feels like it's a good album, but not quite so much a Spock's album for me, so it's at the bottom of the pack at number 13, The Oblivion Particle. All right, number 12.
I thought this one was going to be the bottom of the list, but I gave it some more time during this. Noise Floor, the band's newest album. It ends up pretty phenomenal. I mean, Beginnings, for some reason, this song, how some songs have like this epic close. The song feels really epic at the end. I feel like this entire song starts off epic, ends epic. And then you got Box of Spiders, which I'm still trying to process in my head. It's insanity, like Dance of Eternity from Dream Theater. I mean, it's just such a mind fuck. I love it.
Yeah.
It ended up being a much better album than I initially gave it credit for.
Interesting. Yeah, I was going to mention Box of Spiders and when I talk about that album too, because it's phenomenal. The Rio wrote that. It's terrific. It's all over the place. Yeah, agreed. My number 12 is probably going to surprise you a little bit, and that's Day for Night. I just don't like the sound of this album. This is an album that's not here for the songs. I have a problem with the production and the mix. I don't know why. Neil and the band produced it. It's not like they hadn't done it before or after. I think it sounds different than the other albums. It sounds a little hollow. It's not as full of sound as they've had. And the songs are good. I mean, Distance to the Sun saves it. I can listen to that all day, every day. Healing is an incredible epic at the end. I really love Gibberish, of course, the song they did live a lot. I mean, it's a good album. I just wish it sounded better. Bottom line. So Day for Night is my number 12.
Fair enough.
What do you got?
The
Number 11?
bottom of the nail pile for me is their sophomore, Beware of Darkness.
Wow.
It's not that the songs are bad, although I've still never warmed up to Time Has Come. I don't know why. Like the last section is really good, but the lead up, the first 10 minutes, for some reason, it never really grabbed me. But I mean, it's got the doorway, which is great. Thoughts is another mindfuck Spock's Beard tune. Walking on the Wind, I think they did it at Morse Fest recently, which gave me a new appreciation for the song. But it just one of the albums I play the least from Neil Morse.
Interesting. When Time Has Come, I mean, it's 16 plus minutes. When that much of the album is doesn't connect with you, it's going to drop the album down a little bit. Perhaps if it was different, you know, like you said, the doorway is hard to ignore on that one. That's
right.
That sounds ridiculous. And if you saw him do it live, I got very lucky. I saw Spock's with Neil one time on the 5 tour at the North Star Bar in Philly. We just went, and there was maybe 30 people in the place. And when they do the doorway, they duel with the guitars, Al and Neil on the same guitar. They play the same guitar at the same time. It's mind blowing. The doorway is just amazing. Anyway, my number 11 is Noise Floor, the aforementioned Noise Floor, the most recent album. And I have my notes on a different page. Right, so NDB is back on drums. He returns as a guest member here to play the drums, which is really cool. And all of a sudden, you know, the Oblivion Particle, John Bochel wrote all the songs. This album, he disappears. He's gone. The band writes it, which is why it's a nice comeback for them. No Dave, though. Dave doesn't have any writing credit on this. It baffles me. One of my all-time Spock songs is a Dave song. We'll get to that. Very melodic album, with the exception of Box of Spiders, like you said, which is just a mind fuck, I think is the way you put it. And the Cutting Room Floor mix is pretty good. You get 4 extra songs on it, which is kind of cool. So, yeah, but, you know, hey, it's been 5 years since this is our last record. So let's go, guys. You know, 2018. That's my number 11.
Time has come for a new one.
Yeah. Yep.
Next, I thought this would end up higher because of the first and last songs, but the X album, Edge of the In-Between and Jaws of Heaven, I think are among my favorite Spock's Beard songs. The stuff in the middle is good. Their names escape me is a bit strange, but they did it as a fan campaign. I didn't have the money to have my name on a Spock's Beard album, which sucks. What the hell? But it is a fantastic album. Even a songwriting from Neil, I believe, on Emperor's Clothes, I believe is the Neil credit on this one. Really good album, though.
I totally agree. And guess what? It is also my number 10. X is X. You're right. That you made a mention to this, but the pre-orders, if you ordered the Ultra Edition, like you said, you get your name in the book, or your name sung on the song. Their names escape me, which is a haunting song. It's so much fun to listen to with all the names being shouted and the crescendo at the end. It was brilliant marketing and a very smart way for the band to get money up front for the recording of this album. The last album they did, of course, with Nick fronting the band, that version of the band, but it is a comeback in terms of prog. I mean, this album was night and day from the hard rock kind of direction they were going in. This album is a huge prog comeback. Many think this is the best Nick fronted Spock's album. But ironically for me, that my 2 favorites are Al tracks, which is the Emperor and also Man Behind the Curtain. Right, Man Behind the Curtain, which is one he actually sings, which is awesome. So yeah, I agree with you. It's a really great album with 2 epic bookends, but it falls at number 10 for me, which means the top 9 are going to be quite good.
Oh, yeah. Weird that it was number 10 for both of us, an album called 10.
Yeah. Ooh.
Was that true? I think so. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
Oblivion Particle for me. Some great stuff on here. Jimmy Keegan got his first vocal track with Bennett Built a Time Machine, I think is really cool. Minion, every time I hear it, and I know it has nothing to do with the Minions from the Disney movie, but every time I hear the song, I picture these little yellow dudes singing it, and I just love it. It's cute. Disappear is good. Iron Man, the bonus track with Nick DiVirgilio on the drums and Dave sings, I believe. Kind of a cool little song to throw in there. I enjoyed it. But yeah, like you said, the band didn't really write this album. I enjoy it, but they didn't really write most of it.
Yeah. So it's your favorite Ted album. Very interesting. All right. My number 9 is an album that slipped a little bit. And I think I was fooled by it when it first came out. And I realized it's not as great as I thought it was, even though it's still top 9 Spocks. And that's the 8th album, Octane. Great package, by the way. This is a tremendous book package. Anyways, so Octane, the Ballet of the Impact. It starts out with such a phenomenal track. Great lyrics, great musicianship. It's fantastic. But then the album takes a left turn. I really don't like. I wouldn't let it go so much. Surfing Down the Avalanche, I could do without. She Is Everything is fantastic. It gets a little bit better of the beauty of it all. The Planet's Hum for me is the track on this album that it stands out as my favorite. And for once on the bonus disc, which you get, which is kind of cool, I don't really care for much of them. They sound like outtakes. And I think the band was really headed too much in the hard rock direction. And they're really such good musicians and more of a prog band. So I'm up and down with this record, but I think I like it where it is at number 9. So yeah, Octane, number 9. Number 8.
I got this box beast here, Feel Euphoria. The first album without Neil, which I feel like it came out way too soon after Snow. Like the band wanted to hurry up, get it done. And there's some great stuff on here. A Guy Named Sid, written by Nick DiVirgilio. I mean, this was the first album where Neil didn't write damn near the entire thing. So it's different, but I really enjoy it. Carry On, I think, is one of my favorite Spock's tunes. Moth of Many Flames, a bonus track, is a really cool song from Al. It's a damn good album, and I think my favorite Spock's Beard album cover.
It's an amazing cover. But I could not agree with you more, and I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But yeah, they did kind of rush it. I totally agree, and I think they were probably upset with Neil because there was not much of a mention of him, even in the liner notes. They kind of mentioned thanks to Neil, but not a lot of Neil stuff in there. They definitely wanted to move on as soon as he left the band, keep the momentum going that they had established with Snow. And it's uneven, but it's still got some incredible stuff on it. It's such a transitional album. Oh my God. All right, my number 8 is the debut. We're going to Do the Light. I have a feeling this is going to be very high for you. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Yeah, this is it's their first album. I was not a fan at the time. I got this album after 2000 or so 5 years after it came out. Very, very, very almost disturbing to listen to The Water with the "fuck you" section there from Neil, considering where he is today. It's almost uncomfortable to listen to him sing that. But of course, The Light is a signature song. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a great prog epic. And this was written mostly by Neil before he even got the band together. So this is really a Neil record. And I think his songwriting will get better after this, more refined, a little better. But yeah, so I mean, it's still a very good prog album with a very cool prog cover. The Light, number 8.
Next for me was Introduction to the Genius of Neil Morse for me, the Kindness of Strangers album. A friend of mine, Chris Dimel, he runs the Raven Radio. He sent me a compilation like 20, 25 years ago. The Good Don't Last on there. And that began my prog obsession.
Wow.
That's where, because at the time I was listening to more like Kiss, 10,000 Maniacs, Rush, REM, shit like that. And of course, I still love those bands. I do like Rush. They're okay. But this is where the prog really took over for me. And Flow, I think, is the shine, the standout track here. And of course, I had to have the bonus edition with some demos and radio edits that I never listened to, but I had to get it anyway.
Awesome.
It's a good album.
Yeah, it is a great one. Next up for me is I think it was at the bottom of your list. Brief Nocturnes and Dreamless Sleep, number 7. Of course, Ted Leonard joins the band. Jimmy Keegan is in, and Nick is out. So another big transition for the band. The first album without Nick. And my favorite track is an Al Morse pen track, A Treasure Abandoned. Like I said it before, this is my favorite album of 2013. I was so nervous when this album came out because I was not a Ted Leonard vocal fan from his days with Enchant, but I was so happy to hear this, and I was like, voice definitely fits here. His songwriting credits were actually solid as well, and I can still listen to this front to back. It's just a really good album with a really cool artwork. They've always had good artwork, mostly. So yeah, number 7 for me, Brief Nocturnes and Dreamless Sleep, and I won't try to say it more than once in a row, but yeah, that's number 7. Number 6.
It was a fantastic album. I loved it. I love Ted Leonard, but something had to be at the bottom there. So I think next, the self-titled. And this one I love start to finish. It had to be somewhere in the pile, so I put it here on a Day is just fantastic. I think With Your Kiss is one of the great forgotten prog epics. I mean, it's like 12 minutes long and such a cool track.
It
And
is.
then as far as the mind can see, epic from start to finish, although I'm not sure how some of the parts connect to the song. Here's a Man, I'm not sure how it connects, but they say it's an epic. So sure, we'll go with that. I don't know how they connect, but whatever. And then there's some cool unreleased instrumentals on the bonus disc. Hypernova Explosion, Red Sea. Although Skeletons at the Feast is obviously the best instrumental on the album.
Mm.
But really cool Nick DiVirgilio era album.
It really is. I could agree with you more. And you mentioned something I think is 100%, because The Boy Named Sid is the same for me, where it's an epic that it has trouble connecting all the parts to me, and same on that. I'm not sure Nick is the greatest with the epic thing. He certainly is not Neil. But With Your Kiss, you're right. That's a phenomenal song. It's mind blowing. I love it very much. One of my all-time favorite Spock songs. All right, let's go to number 6. We're at number 6 for me, and that is Beware of Darkness. And this one, it's up and down for me. I happen to like The Time Has Come very much. The Doorway is an absolute masterclass in prog rock. Produced by Neil. It's Rio's first album with the band as well. And of course, they cover the George Harrison track Beware of Darkness, which I think is cool. I think it's weird putting it as a lead-off track and titling your album after it. A control freak like Neil, to do that, I mean, that says a lot. Not to mention his love of the Beatles, which he's worn on his sleeve for years, especially George Harrison. So it's not surprising, but it is at the same time. Walking on the Wind is great. This is just a really good listen. I think it's much better than the debut, a step in the right direction. And number 6 for me, Beware of Darkness. That takes us to the top 5.
All right, here I've got the debut. This is the art edition that I can't bring myself to open up and look at the cool shit inside. I don't know why. Some maybe it up. But I love this album. I mean, the title track, and how can anybody forget Go the Way You Go? I think that's essential Spock's beard right there. And of course, The Water. You mentioned that he did say F you a lot, but you forget that he said sorry. He said, but even Jesus would forgive him because he did say sorry. He asked for forgiveness. So I think it's fine. Yeah, he asked for forgiveness. I feel like I forgave him there. It was uncomfortable, but then he's sorry, which I think is, and I think even Dennis DeYoung's wife would agree that that was beautiful.
That is so true. It's so funny. Yeah, it's almost like he was uncomfortable saying it. It immediately comes back with the "I'm sorry." Oh my goodness. All right, where are we? I'm losing my. Okay, so my number 5 is this incredible beast of a package, like you said, Feel Euphoria. This is quite possibly the most transitional album. I mean, this felt a lot. First of all, we were all upset when Neil left. I was crushed when Neil left. They came out with this thing like the next day, it seemed. And it took me a while to warm up to it. Onomatopoeia is the first thing that hits you, and you're like, "Oh my god, wow!" I mean, it turns out it's a good song, but wow, what a directional shift. So it almost felt like it in a lesser way. You know, Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel's gone. Collins steps out from behind the kit. It had a lot of those similarities. Hugely transitional album, and I feel like Carry On is almost their homage to Neil. Nick sings it very uncharacteristically, low register for him. It sounds like Neil's almost singing it. And so the album ends like that, which is kind of weird. I thought it should have ended with the epic. I think the tracking is a little off, which may have been because it was rushed. However, this album contains 2 of my all-time favorite Spock songs, the top 3 Spock song for me, which is Ghost of Autumn, which is a Dave Mero song. My chills, the hair on the back of my neck, the piano part with Rio in the middle. I can't. It's just, it's unbelievable. The other one is East of Eden, West of Memphis, which is such a great song too, with 2 different parts to it. It speeds up at the end. It gets heavy. Bottom Line is great. So yeah, there's some filler on here. I think A Boy Named Sid has part filler on it. But those 2 songs just carry this to the top 5, and this has turned out a lot better than I thought. And of course, we didn't know at the time what the greatest thing ever would happen. We'd have Spocks and we'd have Neil for the next 20 plus years. So we didn't really know that for sure at the time. Now we know. So there you go. Top 5. I could talk about this album for an hour. It's so transitional and so cool. But anyway, yeah, Feel Euphoria, number 5. Number 4.
All right, this is the first Box Beard album I bought, which may be why it finishes so high for me, Day for Night. I love the title track. Of course, the epic Healing Colors of Sound is phenomenal. I think my daughter's coming up behind me there. But people forget about the Gypsy and Crack the Big Sky. Mini epics in and of themselves just make this album phenomenal for me. And Can't Get It Wrong is one of those songs I listen to when I'm down in the dumps. Samantha.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt she's a Spock Spirit fan, I'm sure, but there's no doubt that that album is the songs are good. I wish it's like I said, I just wish it sounded better. My next one, my number 4 is The Kindness of Strangers, which I is phenomenal. I can't get past. I mean, June is the song that you can listen to with your wife, and she likes it as much as you do. I think the big thing with this is Rich Mauser's addition to the mixing of the album. This is the first album that Rich Mauser was involved with. He's an unofficial member of the band now and of Neil's band. He mixes everything they do, and he's got such an incredible touch to him. So I mean, the flow is great. Harm's Way is a song that I remember they played when I saw them live in Philly with Neil. So that stuck with me. And I love Mouth of Madness. I listened to this album earlier this week in preparation for this, and that song just can't get out of my head, Mouth of Madness. And I just love it. The Good Don't Last. The whole thing is fantastic. And I love the picture on the back as well. So Kindness of Strangers, number 4.
I forgot this about that album, but on Cakewalk to Easy Street, I'm reminded every Friday that it's suppository time. So for this, go get that done.
Thank goodness, Dr. Spock.
They help me out every time. I'm like, shit, you're right. It is Friday. It's time. Let's do this. But next up for me is Octane. When this came out, I mean, I loved Phil Euphoria, but this thing, you're right. It's not overly proggy. Especially the second half of the disc, I think. But I love A Flash Before My Eyes. I don't think there's a wasted moment on that one. Just a fantastic song. But As Long As We Ride, I think, is the best song on here. One of the best rock songs ever written. Just a phenomenal track. And then Broken Promised Land on the bonus disc is also just, I think it should have been on the proper disc. Just a phenomenal song.
Wow, very interesting. A lot of Spock fans rank that one very low. So I mean, it's interesting that you say that, considering you're a prog guy. But you're right. That first track is just it's breathtaking. It's fantastic, and it's hard to ignore. The packaging on that is awesome too, with the red tint and all the pictures in the booklet. All right, we've arrived at the top 3, and this was difficult. This was really difficult. Well, this one was 3 and 2 was difficult. 1 was not. But for me, it's a self-titled 9th album, Spock's Beard, which was a dog to get on CD. This came out during the Napster phase of, and I never bought the CD until I think 2 years ago. And I found a copy from Russia. It never got here. I waited another 3 months and found one on eBay. I think I paid $40 for this on CD. So I'm so happy I had it. I would have paid anything. But for me, it's number 3. On a Perfect Day is number 2 or 3 for me in Spock's. All That's Left. I mean, it touches you. And it's a Dave Miros written track. This is what I'm talking about. Ghost of Autumn, All That's Left. Why isn't Dave writing more music for this band? His bass tone is so incredible on that album, on that song, and the whole album. And the Slow Crash Landing Man, which is a classic Al Morse, John Bogehold song. Again, Al Morse writing. Again, it goes back to why isn't the band writing more of their own material? They're so good at it. But yeah, this is really Dave Miros' album. He's all over the songwriting credits, and I love the way it flows. Hereafter is a great finishing track as well. So yeah, and Is This Love? I could talk forever. This is a great album, number 3, and an album that I would recommend very highly to those who don't know Spock. I might send them this album.
I just have to say, I didn't know that one was hard to. I mean, everyone had trouble finding it because I had trouble finding it too. I have the Japanese version with the ice strip and shit. I didn't know it was hard to find until I'm trying to find it. I think I too paid way too much for it, but the one I was missing, and it had to be in the collection. So,
yep, same. All right, we're top 2, man. Top 2.
Top 2. I don't know if we're gonna. Obviously, our top 2 albums are the same, but I don't know if order. For me, it's V or 5. At the End of the Day and The Great Nothing. I mean, 2 of the best Spock Spirit songs ever. Just incredible. Thoughts Part 2 was cool, but weirdly, Revelation, I think, is one of the coolest forgotten Spock's Beard song. It's such a weird vibe and such a cool tune.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Totally agree again. this this has it has to be number 2. It has my all-time favorite song ever written, ever recorded by any band anywhere ever, and that's At the End of the Day. It's the best song ever written, in my opinion. It overtook Zebra's Who's Behind the Door, which we could talk about in another video at some point, but that was my favorite song for 30 years or something like that. At the End of the Day is the greatest song ever written. It's the first song on this album. It's the song that I send people to listen to, and they say, "What's prog? What's this progressive rock you listen to?" That song has got a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's got in a Latino section. It's got a slow section. It's got a hard rock section. It's got the drumming. Everything about the song is perfect, and that's why it's my number 1 song of all time. The Great Nothing is an incredible almost 30-minute ballad, epic at the end. All on a Sunday, another song you can listen to with your wife. Cheesy video if you've ever seen it. It's really cheesy, but you're right. Revelation is great. And of course, Thoughts Part 2, hello, is on this. What a great album. Again, I was privileged to see this live. I can't tell you how blessed I am to have seen this show totally by chance. And I can listen to it at the end of the day. It's a 17-minute song. It's a 17-minute ride from here to my office, where I go 3 days a week, and you put this on in my driveway. It ends in the parking lot of my office. It's just perfect. So yeah, if you get anything from this video from me, listen to At the End of the Day by Spock Spirit. My number 2 album is 5.
Now, real quick, At the End of the Day was also my favorite Spock Spirit song until this came out. And I feel like we have to mention Falling for Forever.
Okay.
The whole band came back. Yes, exactly. Neil came back. Nick came back. 3 vocalists get their own, it seemed like, what was it, 4 or 8 lines each during the song. I mean,
awesome. Yeah.
Neil came back and just showed how you write a prog rock epic. And the band had been doing well at the epics, but they showed that Neil was the prog writer in the band. And I just have to mention that track.
Yeah, the album he's mentioning is that the Greatest Hits album that came out about 8 years ago, the first 20 years. It's a great compilation.
And I know it's not in our ranking, but we just had to mention it. It's my favorite Spock Beard tune. Not my favorite, definitely favorite Beard tune. Oh. Obviously, Snow would be number 1. The greatest, I mean, in my opinion, the greatest 2 CD concept prog album of all time. Better than Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Better than Tommy. Better than, I don't know, The Wall. This is the best 2 CD concept album for me. The story even makes more sense to me than what's going on Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. I don't know what the hell's going on Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. I have no idea. Here, it's about an albino man that can touch you and see your future. I mean, every man's story right there.
Right, of course.
He's got his tape, a battery pack. I mean, come on. Everything you want in prog. And the Solitary Soul, Wind at My Back, that ends disc 1. Even the band knew not to break those up on the compilation. That's the perfect 1-2 punch of any album ever. I just can't say enough about this. I wish they had done a full proper tour.
Don't we all? They play those few songs in record stores, a few songs rather in record stores as Neil was about to leave. Dude, I could not agree with you more. I'm getting chills right now thinking about it. This is the greatest album ever made, in my opinion. The greatest album ever made is Spock Spirit Snow. It's my number 1 album of all time. I cry when I listen to this. Some of the melodies on this album, I mean, Love Beyond Words. Wind at My Back, the long version that ends the album. I can't get through it. I mean, first of all, my second born, my daughter, it's her kind of song, came out right when she was, being born. She's a Wind at My Back. My soul has been kissed just because you exist. Are you kidding? Lyrically, I mean, Neil says goodbye to the band right there. We didn't know it at the time. He says goodbye to the band. I mean, this is front to back. I agree with what you said. It flows so perfectly. It's just, please folks, those of you who don't, and I know you're not watching this if you don't love prog because you don't know who the hell Spock Spirit is. If you don't, just listen to this album, put it on, don't do anything else. Put your headphones on and listen to it front to back. It's long. It's 2 CDs. It's 4 LPs if you get the version. They ended up doing it live, which is that live album at the Morse Fest when they came, which finally properly did the album live. This is a work of art, and it's just killed me when Neil left the band after this. I was depressed for weeks until Euphoria came out, like I said, the next morning practically. But yeah, I can't say enough about Snow. I could talk about this album in an entire video. I really could. And then to follow it up with testimony, I mean, we're going to get to that at some point later. Oh my God, like your head wants to explode. But yeah, I don't know what else to say, so I'll end it on that. The number one album from Spock Spirit, we both concur, is this epic from 2002, the 6th album the band released, Snow.
If I could quick, somebody in the comments, tell me what the hell is going on the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. I don't understand. It's a nightmare. It scares me. It's a great album, but I don't know what the fuck's going on.
One of our proggy friends out there is going to take you up on that. I'm sure you'll have a lesson.
I hope. Please do.
Wow, that was a lot of fun. I got to tell you, I have chills right now. Just picking up I think it resonates. I pick it up and it's like, oh. Just phenomenal. So thank you very much for doing this.
Promotional for some reason. I don't know how I got this, but it's even got some promotional information and packet in there.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure how the hell I ended up with this version, but
That's cool. You deserve it. Look, it's better ending up in your hands than somebody else's. So, wow. All right, man. Well, we're going to wrap this up. It was a lot of fun. I feel like I need to listen to more Spocks even now that we're done with the video. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching, and please put your comments below. Let us know what you think. Please check out Rob's band, Liberty's Exiles, great independent progressive rock band. I'll put the link as always in the comments. And until next time, until we see you again, have a great weekend. Enjoy, like and subscribe. Yay, we'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.